Howdy folks. Recently we did a video at the Clio, Michigan MMAMA tractor show and flea market, and viewer DA Fuzz said, boy, I sure hope there's a part 2. I want to see what you got. Well, there will be a part 2. I guess we'd qualify this as a part 1.5. Rather than stitch this onto the beginning of one, I think I'll just make this a standalone. So, if you remember from the video, this was the first item acquired. This was the Breaking the Ice artifact. This is a railroad spike hammer, and it's actually kind of cool because this is a Slug Devil brand spike hammer, and I believe it's a 10-pounder, although I'll have to do a little cleanup. It's kind of hard to see, but this is what they used back in the day to pound them big old spikes into them big old ties so the country could be all railroadified. The next item I got is going to be the last item I showed. I'm not doing them in any necessary order because it's going to take a little setup. But this is a small aluminum crank handle for probably a milling machine or some such like that, but it's got a very nice turning handle, and I just looks like it could be useful for a lot of different stuff, so I snagged it up. Next we have a genuine Jacob's chuck number 18N. This has a capacity between 1/8 and 3/4 of an inch. This is a press fit style. This is what you use your arbor press for, your shop press. You squeeze that on there real good and then install it in your drill and you're good to go. This is for a future project, which you'll be seeing hopefully in the next year or so. I have to restore the tool that this is going on, but keep your eyes open. This is a fair lead for a winch, which allows the cable can rub on these and roll instead of just catching on stuff. Same with the top and the bottom. These are pretty handy if you have winches, and I have a few of those, and hey, the price was right, and I think he even took a couple bucks off for me. This thing is cool. These things, I've got a couple of these already. But this is a small winch. Small hand cranked winch. Which is the cables. Well, there we go. Maybe. These are very handy. I believe the capacity on this one is 1,000 or 1,500 pounds. And he's got it tagged as a worm gear winch. I don't know why people have such trouble with that. It's winch. W-I-N-C-H. You know, 35 bucks ain't going to buy you much of a winch anywhere, even at a flea market. So, yeah, I don't know. It's made by PEC Corporation. I did a little research on one when I got one years ago, and I don't really remember some of the particulars, but if anybody's curious, it wasn't all that hard to find on Google. But these are nice, they're portable, lightweight. Hook this to it, you got two handles to hold on, one to crank and one to hold, and they do a nice job. I've lifted some really heavy stuff with these. Alright, this next little Jasper is a model 105 16-pound, I believe, stonemason's hammer. And there's a very small little maker's mark there, but neither my wife nor I, even after doing a little wire brushing, could make it out. So that's going to have to be a mystery until I can do a full cleanup on it. And unfortunately, it's got, one of the faces has got a crack in it. And there might be a crack along the side, so this I think is destined to be it'll go in my hammer place type collection, so to speak. I don't think I'll try to use it. I call it pimping them out, and I'll show you what I mean one of these days, but it'll look real pretty by the time I'm done, and it'll have a place on the wall and be shown in honor, but probably not struck. It probably won't ever strike anything again. Once they get cracks like that, I don't trust them, because if this steel lets go, it does so explosively and with catastrophic results, or it can. So now this was the crown jewel and gem of the show. This is made by Whitney Metal Tool Company. Let me double check that. Yep, Whitney Metal Tool Company of Rockford, Illinois. This is a number 4 angle iron shear. This claims to be capable of cutting 2" by 2" by 1/4 inch angle iron. You can see the shape in here, hopefully. I couldn't find any thinner angle iron, and when this came from the factory, it had a 6-foot long handle. You can see this is not the original handle, and you don't have as much leverage. So I tried it with I had a piece of 1/8 inch by, I think it was 1.5 by 1.5 by 1/8 inch, and yeah, it wasn't doing it. Well, it's designed to be bolted to a heavy object or a firm surface, and then again with the 6-foot handle, I totally believe you could cut 1/4 inch thick stuff, but this will just give you an idea. Now granted, this isn't exactly really tough metal. It's some of the stuff you get out of a filing cabinet does the stiffeners for the hanging files along the side, but it does cut. So this Roper Whitney makes the exact same thing. I think Roper and Whitney got married at some point along the line, and it became Roper Whitney. But you can find this number 4 on their website, and they will be happy to sell you the exact same tool for $635. The guy had 65 on it, and I offered him 60, and he readily took it. So I'd say I think that was the prize winner of the show. These next 2 items I'm going to show you actually didn't come from the flea market, but I think they're kind of cool in odd sort of ways. But these are log cabin springs. They're a type of compression spring, and instead of having a lock washer, you use this and lag bolts to hold the logs together, and then this allows for expansion and contraction while still keeping the lag bolt tight. Each box has 500 pieces. I'm willing to bet when they were purchased they were probably god-awful expensive, and I believe I gave $20 a box. So I think I did pretty good, and the reason I like springs is it's high carbon steel, and I can see just a whole bunch of neat little blacksmith projects coming out of this. Plus I got 4 boxes total, so I should have enough to last me a few years. Alright folks, this last item was also from an auction, and I forgot to mention about with the box of springs, these both came from the same auction, and this was another good deed by Mr. Ron. He and I were talking about this auction, and I didn't think I was going to be able to make it, and he said he was going, and what was I interested in, and I told him boxes of springs and this. This is a Cole Tool Manufacturing, Chicago Heights, Illinois, and I believe St. Anne, Illinois. They moved at some point in their production. It's a pipe vise. It also swivels, and if you put a pipe in here, it becomes a giant, extremely heavy pipe wrench. And these came with a drill attachment that could be clamped in the jaws, and then you had a hand cranked, it's a ratchet action drill, and it's got a fascinating history. I wanted to show this because this is going to be in an upcoming restoration video, I actually have another one like this, and the drill part and part of the drill for another one. So anyway, I thought you might be interested. I think these things are cool. They swivel, like I said. This part mounts to a table, and then you can swivel this whichever way you want. The first time I saw this, I thought it was a parking meter. And they also have more than a passing similarity to an actual blacksmith leg vise. They've got a spring inside that's supposed to open them quicker, and just the shape of the body reminds me of the upper part of a blacksmith post vise. This one, looking at the cross hatching on the jaws, I don't know if this thing actually ever saw much use at all. It's in very good condition, other than, yeah, it's rusty, but as far as wear and tear, I don't really see much of any. And a little wire brushing and some oil and a little paint, not necessarily in that order. And it should look just incredibly nice. And they're just really cool tools. And when I do the video on this, I will go into some of the history of the company and the different uses of this and the drill attachment, but it's pretty fascinating.